All right, we're back at it. This is video 2, series 1. Just a reminder, this is how to do a basic level grow. We're gonna get into some other series where I show you guys everything else as far as controllers and lighting and cool chemicals and things like that. But this series was quick, easy seedling popping, and now we have the seedlings going. What do we do next? How do we keep these plants growing, healthy, transplant, etc.? So quick update, since this is video 2, seedlings are looking good. So they're under their lights and we're ready to start watering them like every other time. We're gonna use basic water and fertilized water kind of back and forth. Interesting note here is this is the Darth variety. We were gonna do 2. And look at the thickness on the leaves. The Darth are kind of showing the same phenotype, which means how they look. Genetically, they might be similar, but how they're expressing themselves, very, very similar. And then you look at the banner, and the banner is a thinner, more standard leaf. So we've got banners, we've got Darth. It'll be interesting to see how these progress, what they turn into, how they look. So anyway, the couple variables we're gonna go into, you pop seedlings successfully. First step is lighting. You've gotta have a light set up. You have to control these plants. They are light sensitive plants. And so a lot of people don't understand that. I actually call on landscape architects and they didn't even know that it's a photo crop. So again, sticking to a basic setup. I had one of these back in an old box I used to use. And basically I can adjust how many hours of light I want to come on and how many hours of darkness, turn them off. Simple, plugs into the wall, like 10 bucks, super cheap piece of equipment. But this is gonna provide that consistency to allow you to do whatever you want with your plants. Keeping this basic, not going scientific, if we stay at 18 hours, that's the number we're gonna use, these plants will just produce leaves. We're talking indefinitely for 6 months, for 12 months. We can grow a 12-inch tall plant, we can grow a 12-foot tall plant by controlling the lighting. So when we're on 18 hours, we are going to be producing leaf mass. The second that we change these pins and we go to a 12-hour cycle, again, could start in your tent at 18 inches tall, I'm ready for flower. Boom, they will go into flower, 12 hours of light. So I always veg to a certain height. I figure out, if my tent is 4 feet tall, I want my plants to go to 18 inches in veg. Then when I trip flower, they're gonna double in size to 36, and then my light can still sit above them without them growing out of my tent. So just understand that simple concept. You need a lighting timer. You have to set it on 18 hours right now. Keeping it simple, you could probably get away with 16 or 17. Some guys have different opinions. But simple, simple, simple. 18 hours, plug it in, plug in your light to this, set it and forget it. It's gonna go like clockwork until we're ready to switch these over into bloom. So that's lighting. For temperature and humidity, really, really quick, in veg, we can get away with more, but I used to grow in San Diego and the humidity was like 75. I actually started dealing with problems like powdery mildew. So you want to try to aim for humidity that's like 50% or lower. If you're too high, you need to get a fan in your tent to pull that moisture out because these plants are breathing in there, driving that moisture content up under the lights. So we need to change that air over, keep it below 50. Now that I live in the desert, I've never had humidity issues before. So some of you will have struggles with humidity, some of you will not. Out here, I've noticed, I'm anywhere between 40 and 50. I've never had an issue, never had powdery mildew. I'm lucky. I have good conditions for that. But we wanna shoot, again, keeping it simple, below 50. Temperature, it'd be nice to be in the 70s. It's hot here, so this will fluctuate for me a little bit. In veg, they can run a little bit hot. I think I stated that in the first video. As we get into flower, it's really cool to see if you drop temperatures, you can pull out different color phenotypes, different terpenes, things like that. So a lot of times lower temperature is more desired in the flower phase. But we don't want to get too cold that they slow down. We don't want to get too hot that they shut down. So try to keep it maybe between 60 and 90 to keep it simple. Aim for 70 if you can, if you're really getting into your grow. So that's temperature, humidity, and lighting. You get those three things right, and now this is what I think is just as important, so overlooked, and it's chemicals, pH, and TDS. TDS is the same as parts per million, total dissolved solids, what's in the water other than water, and how much of it. So we briefly talked about tap water. You're starting with 400 TDS, 500 TDS if you're in an area like me. Well, when you need to add 600 TDS of chemicals, you're now confusing things like, what was that 500? Did it already have nitrates in the water? Does it already have things in the water? Now I'm gonna add more to it. Am I shooting for, I only need 700. If I'm starting at 5, am I adding 200 more? Or am I going to 1100? So again, water quality is everything. I buy my jugs at the store. You can get the drinking water, which is gonna be a little bit less refined. It's gonna be RO grade. You'll see that's probably 10 TDS or less. And then distilled water, couple cents more per gallon, but DI water is even more purified. So today I'm gonna teach you guys for this basic grow, how to go grab some $1.30 gallons. This is what we're gonna be watering with and mixing chemicals with. So get some quality water. The meters that you're gonna need, I keep mentioning these big words, but it's point and click little meters. This is a TDS pen. This is gonna measure the concentration of what we're adding to the water. And then at the end, we're gonna pH correct. So in this process of adding chemicals, the first thing we always chase is how strong. So how much are we adding concentration? That's TDS. You're gonna hear me say that 1,000 times in all these videos. After we're done getting the TDS level we want, we always final with pH correction. So the chemicals for this, again, there's so many chemicals out there, it's overwhelming. There's 5 million to experiment with. We're gonna stick to Fox Farms. I've had a lot of good grows with this. It's cheap, it's good for beginners, it's user-friendly, you're not gonna nuke your plants. They have a grow guide, which I'll post here. And then if you use that grow guide, you'll see that they put on there ppms to shoot for in what week. I love that. You're new to this. You need a chart, you need a guide until you become a pro at it. So on that chart, if you notice week 1, it says seedlings, week 2, seedlings, week 3, seedlings. So they're writing kind of a proven method with their product on which chemicals you can play with and how much concentration you're gonna shoot for. So it says week 1 with our seedlings, we're gonna use Big Grow. We're not gonna be using the Tiger Bloom or the Big Bloom. These are gonna come a little bit later in the grow cycle. So I'm gonna put those aside. So TDS pens, grab this chemical if you're following along. And the final thing is pH down and pH up. And this is where we're gonna hit our final number, which we're gonna shoot for 5.96 pH. The pen is gonna show us where we're at. So let's go ahead and mix a batch and get these seedlings watered. And I think that'll get you started for the next couple weeks. So we'll just pour in water. Again, I like to do this in a bigger batch. I don't like to mix chemicals every single day. So I'll just make a big batch and then store it in one of these empty containers. Let's check what the water is starting at for TDS so you guys can see. I turn it on, put the meter in there, and I'm sitting at 0 TDS, which is wild. It's incredibly difficult to get a 0, but that's distilled water. If I check that purified drinking water, it's gonna be a little bit higher than that to start, but that's okay. So anyway, 0, super nice. Let's check the pH, what we're starting at. What you'll notice is usually these chemicals that we add, fertilizers, are usually acidifying. And so this water right now coming out of the jug is at 8.7 pH. What I find in all of my understanding basic level knowledge, a lot of people get really lucky. If you're starting at an 8 and we want to be at a 5.9, when they're adding their chemicals, they're naturally dropping that pH and most of the time getting pretty darn close to where these plants will thrive, which is that 5.9 or 6.0. So we'll see what naturally happens before we correct it. We're at 8.1 now that it's finally settled out. So as the chart said, we want about 700 to 800 ppm, not rocket science. You can get as detailed as you want, but I've done this enough that I'll put a little splash in there. We'll mix it up. Make sure we get a good even distribution of that chemical in the water. And let's see where we are. I got super lucky. $675 TDS. So if you are at 675, I wanted to be at 700 to 800, but this is week 1 with these seedlings. So I want to get them used to fertilizer. I don't want to overdo it out the gate. You can tell by their color that this soil that I bought, this Happy Frog, had plenty of nutrients to get these things started. So they're not really starving. They're already dark green. If anything, I'm going to err on the lighter side of that grow chart right now. And you'll always be able to observe with these. I'll keep teaching you as we go. But those are pretty dark. Let's just stop right there. We're at 670. If we needed to, just add a shot more. If you over add chemical, how do we bring it back down? We're going to add more water. That's going to bring that TDS right back down. Let's check the pH. This is the last thing we always want to do. This is the difference in your grow that will make it look way better than your friends. My pH right now dropped to a 5.5. So we want to be at a 6. You see how we started at an 8.1, added the shot of chemicals right where, if I'm following the chart, if I'm watering with a 5.5, I'm actually off, but I'm not terribly, grossly far off. But I'm at a 5.5. Let's bring it up. So here's our pH up chemical. We want to go up to 6. I'm going to take just a tiny little shot of this. It's only going to take probably 3 or 4 drops. Mix it up. Again, doing this in a larger batch, that way you have it ready to go. Saves time if you have a busy schedule. Just store this in the bottle. Check the pH. So 4 little drops, we went from a 5.5 to a 5.7. I want to be at least at a 5.9, so I'm going to add 4 more. That was a squirt, that wasn't a drop. That was an accident, but we can always fix it. All right, we're at 5.91. I am happy with that. It's not rocket science. I'm in the wheelhouse. Plants are gonna love that pH. We won't go into all those details, but basically at the right pH, this plant thrives because it's able to grab the nutrients in the soil. When you start hearing nutrient lockout, things like that, people are watering with 8 pH water and have no idea why their plants are turning yellow. They can't grab what's in the soil. It's available, but it's not available to them. It's like having a glass of water in front of you and you're thirsty, but your straw is outside the cup. You just cannot uptake it. So get them in the right pH, you will have successful green seedlings. Quick video update. I think we're good. I think you guys can start growing. These are only gonna stay in the cups a little bit longer. You can see they're growing super fast right now. And one thing to note is we're gonna go over topping probably in the next video. I wanna go over the grow setup and show you my light and light height. I think it's something to note here that, again, not going into par and detailed lighting descriptions, keeping this simple for you guys. Watch your plants. They're telling you exactly what's going on. If you notice that every stack of leaves is very tight, very short, when we get down to bud growth, it might be too tight. So what we need to do is raise the light, and we'll go into that. So you can stretch the gaps between these leaves. If you're watching your grow every day, pay attention to the distance between them. I like to shoot for an inch, inch and a quarter. It's called the node length. If it's too tall, if your plants are stretching out, you need to bring your lights closer or turn the intensity up on them. Maybe you have the wrong light. So again, for seedlings, we want to see them squatty, we want to see them strong. But if they're too tight, I'm definitely going to have to raise this light a little bit. It looks like it's too intense on these plants. So wrapping up today's video, get your light height set at the right height, pay attention to your seedlings, get your timer set up, get it on 18 hours, get your humidity 50%, get your temperature in the 70s, get your TDS pen, your pH pen, get quality water, and you need big grow, pH up, pH down. Sounds like a lot, but that is the basic to grow any plant. It's not that expensive. We're talking 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 bucks. And you get to have a lot of fun with that and create a really, really good yield. So thanks for watching this. I'll keep you guys updated. We'll throw up some other videos on the tent, the light, all that stuff. And if there's any questions, let me know. Drop them in the comments. Thanks.